you for joining me on the journey. This is Completed Christianity, so welcome back again. Another episode of Being Complete, third in the Mark of the Beast series. And then after this is done, we'll start incorporating into some of these days on different days of the week. Some days surely get missed for a while, but episode 3, Mark of the Beast, we are going to continue our discussion on this and get into the exciting stuff, the interesting stuff today, and talk about the calculation of the number of the beast. And we discussed before the mark of the beast, its bearing on salvation and its ability, more than anything else, to send people to the lake of the fires. So, previous videos, we discussed the proof of the eternal damnation was not for all, and the pre-end times timing of the mark, what the mark is and what the mark is not. We discussed that in the last video. So this will be calculation of the number of the beast and then how to avoid the mark. So, as we discussed before, just because eternal damnation is not for all, and that it is something that you can repent from, it's a different story if you're thinking, oh, well, I'll just take the mark of the beast and then later on I'll repent. It doesn't work like that. That's a heart issue, and that'll get you in trouble. So let's look at the verse here, Revelation 13:18. Here is the wisdom. He who has understanding, let him calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So this number, 666, it's the correct number. Some sources have said that it could be 616. Well, no, it's not. We're going to prove that today. With it saying, here is wisdom, and he who has understanding, let him calculate. So there's a little bit more to it than just it being a number. And we're going to look at that. So this is the letters in the Greek, chi xi stigma, that is in the Greek for 666. And since it denotes in the verse that it was a number, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So it is a number. Some have said that this word arithmos in the Greek, number, that it means an unknown number. Well, it's not that it's just an unknown number, it's that it could be any number. So it's just the word for a number, arithmos in the Greek. It's like arithmetic. It's a word for a number. Chi xi stigma, it is 666, not 616. These letters, it shows here that chi is the 22nd letter in the Greek alphabet, z the 14th, and it says stigma is an obsolete letter. The letter's kind of still there. It just changed names. But this is why some will potentially say that chi xi stigma doesn't equal 666. Well, the thing is it used to. It doesn't necessarily by name equal that now, because the name of stigma was done away with in the Greek language. So it became an obsolete letter as stigma. But we'll see that here in a second. When you take a look at the chart here, where you have chi 600, z 60, stigma 6. So 660 and 6. So this doesn't take much wisdom, much understanding to figure this out. It tells us it's a number. It gives us 3 letters in the Greek that don't make a word. So it's likely that yes, this is dealing with the numerical values of these numbers, thus turning the chi xi stigma into a number just like 666. So here, Dagama was the name that replaced the stigma, and it's basically still the same letter. 666, it is the correct number. It's the number that we're talking about, and it is the number of a man. It's the number of this man, Nimrod, and we're going to bear this out. So Nimrod, he, as the Babylonian legends go, he dies and becomes the sun god. So he becomes an idol of the sun, and in the Babylonian lore, they gave their idols, they gave them numbers. And we'll discuss that a little bit more here in a minute. So again, 666, it's the number of this man who became the sun god, the idol of the sun. And here's where that sort of bears out a little bit more. This is obviously the signs of the zodiac. This number, 666, it's astrology. It's Babylonian mystery religion. And it's the number of Nimrod, who became the sun idol. Here we have the 12 parts of the zodiac, but out here on the ends, you have 3 more parts. Each of these 12 parts, the Babylonians, they divided them in their astrology into 3 separate parts. Thus, 12 times 3 makes 36 for the full zodiacal circle. So these 36 other idols, gods if you will, play a part into this number, and we're going to see what they have to do with this number here in a minute. Here's another rendition with the sun worship incorporated, the blazing star in the middle, and then you got the 36 different idols labeled around. Here we have the cover for the Testament of Solomon. This is not something that's a recommended reading. It's not scriptural. It's said to be the writings of Solomon, although it's likely pseudepigraphal. So we're going to read a little bit of this here. And he says, and I being Solomon, I commanded another demon to come before me. And there came before my face 36 spirits, their heads shapeless like dogs, but in themselves they were in human form, with faces of asses, faces of oxen, faces of birds. And I, Solomon, on hearing and seeing them, wondered and asked them and said, who are you? But they, of one accord, with one voice, said, we are the 36 elements, the world rulers of this darkness. But, O King Solomon, thou wilt not wrong us, nor imprison us, nor lay command on us. But since Yahweh has given thee authority over every spirit in the air and on the earth and under the earth, therefore do we also present ourselves before you like the other spirits, from the ram and bull, from both twin and crab, lion and virgin, scales and scorpion, archer, goat horn, water pourer, and fish. These are here all the signs of the zodiac, all 12 of them. Then I, Solomon, invoked the name of Yahweh Sabaoth and questioned each in turn as to what was its character, and I bade each one come forward and tell of its actions. Then the first one came forward and said, I am the first decans of the zodiacal circle. I am called the Ram, and with me are these 2. So, looking back here, where it says 36 elements, these 36 elements are the different things where these spirits insinuated themselves into the basic elements. Of the 36 of them, they became elements. The same thing that Paul refers to a few times in his letters and in Galatians 4, where he talks about the weak and beggarly elements. It's the same thing going on here, because in Galatians 4, he's talking about how they served gods who aren't gods. They serve these idols. And he says, why do you turn again to these weak and beggarly elements? So, same thing going on there as with this. Here, this chart with the earth, wind, fire, water, these different signs of the zodiac with each of the 3 parts, all 36, where they basically have, in these spirits, insinuated themselves into the elements. So when you take these 36 and you add up each one, 1 plus 2 plus 3, and so on, then when you add them all up, you get 666. And this is where this number comes from. It's Babylonian astrology. So what the Babylonians did is they made these amulets like this called sun seals, and it's got this 6x6 matrix on here where they took the numbers 1 through 36 and they jumbled them up to where every direction that you add them up, they add up to 111, and then there's 6, so it adds up any direction to 666. And so they believed that by numbering their idols that it gave them power over them, to where that they believed that their idols were in particular, they were evil by nature and character, so they needed a way to protect themselves from their idols. And so they had these 36 what they call lesser gods, these elemental spirits, and then they added them all up, and even on the coin here on the bottom it says 666. When they added it all up, they had this master number, this grand number of the sun. This number 666 is then assigned to that particular idol, which was Nimrod, because the Babylonian legend said that he died and ascended and became this sun idol. Also, this is how we get 360 degrees in a circle from these 36 decans. Each one of these particular idols, that it was divided into 36, each ruled over 10 degrees of the zodiacal circle. Thus, a regular circle itself became 360 degrees, 10 times 36. So this number also has Kabbalistic meaning, and on the bottom here notes that the number 666 contains hidden and exalted, lofty messianic potential. Well, maybe if your Messiah is the anti-Messiah, but this is not something to get interested or messed up in. Anybody who tells you that we need to do all these things in the Kabbalah, all these Kabbalistic things, just run away. It's a path to darkness. So the 666, it is the right number. It is the number of a man. It's the number of this man, Nimrod, who became the, quote, sun god. And then that legend, from the confusing of the languages at the Tower of Babel, that legend then filtered into all different cultures and different names, and all the different sun idols and all these different cultures filter back to this man, and the man that became the sun god, his number is 666. And this is the calculation and understanding of who this beast system and Antichrist is. This man that is the Antichrist in the beast system, the 666 denotes that not only is he a sun worshiper, but he portrays himself to be like Nimrod, to be the Babylonian god. And that's what all the popes have claimed for themselves, just like all the Roman emperors did, is that they are a god on the earth. They are an idol. Psalm 89:34, my covenant I will not break, nor alter the word that has gone out of my lips. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. Comments of opposition are welcome. Just don't say anything dumb like we're not under the law or under grace, because you've been taught to use that verse outside of the bounds of its intended context. Subscribe now. Smash that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you get notifications of all future videos.